Speaker.
I call the honourable member Mark Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased to take the call on this, the Regulatory Reform Bill and the Regulatory Reform Repeal Bill. As a nation, this bill is very important in terms of contributing towards growth and productivity, international competitiveness and boosting living standards. Mr. Speaker, last Friday I launched my Business Forum series in my home electorate of Rodney. We had Rodney's business leaders of large, medium and small businesses gathered together along with our local budding entrepreneurs. Our discussions were based around identifying new opportunities, expanding on existing ones, looking for synergies and joint venture potential, how to expand our exports and tradable sector, networking and developing policy to enable and strengthen business in our communities. A big part of achieving a more competitive environment is through better regulation, less red tape and reducing compliance costs. Better and or less regulation will assist our New Zealand businesses to become more internationally competitive. In my experience overseas, we will continue to compete in an ever more demanding and competitive global economy. This government understands that and is making all the right moves to ensure that the people and businesses responsible for taking our great New Zealand products, services and innovative ideas to the global market are provided with a strong regulatory platform that helps make them competitive. Much of the poor regulation we've been afflicted with has been a hodgepodge that has never subsequently been challenged. This government has been the first to systematically address these issues. Mr. Speaker, the people working hard to grow their businesses and create employment in my electorate are encouraged to see that this government continues to make moves to create high-quality regulation. We are small and a long way from what are important markets for us. However, we do proudly punch above our weight, and we need to offer a better policy environment to help overcome those economic disadvantages. Some good examples of these are the improvements that have been made to the Resource Management Act, electricity sector, transport, communications and ACC. This bill contains amendments to 13 acts, removing duplication, disposing of unnecessary requirements, clearing up inconsistencies and reducing regulatory burdens. In short, Mr. Speaker, this bill will make life easier for businesses. Mr. Speaker, when I was addressing my business forum on Friday, I talked about this bill and how important it is as one of the building blocks for what we are trying to achieve in Rodney. It gave me great pride to be able to report that this government is continuing to address and remove possible barriers to growth. For example, Mr. Speaker, amendments to the Companies Act will enable companies to hold shareholder meetings with use of the internet and allow electronic voting. This has the potential to save New Zealand companies a total of $1.5 million a year. Or amending the Unit Trust Act 1960 so financial statements and accounts can be distributed electronically. Changes to the Conservation Act will allow time limits to be set within which applications for concessions must be processed. This makes it much easier for businesses to plan and budget. Changes to the Statistics Act will allow greater access to the statistics departments, information by researchers, universities and firms. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I am passionate about making our businesses stronger and more competitive on the global stage. And as a result, I'm pleased to commend this bill back to the Commerce Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable members, the question is that the Regulatory Reform Bill be now read a second time. Those of that opinion will please say aye. Aye. The contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Regulatory Reform Bill, second reading.
The question now is that the Regulatory Reform Repeals Bill be now read a second time. Those of that opinion will please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Regulatory Reform Repeals Bill, second reading.
Honourable members, the Regulatory Reform Bill is now set down for committee stage next sitting day. and the Regulatory Reform Repeals Bill is set down for third reading next sitting day. A Business Committee determination. Point of order, the Honourable Member Catherine Delahunty.
I seek leave of the House to amend our vote, which would be to call for a party vote on the first bill.
Is there any objection to that course of action being taken? There is none. Point of order.
Mr Speaker, I think a party can amend their own vote, fully understandable, but to retrospectively call for a party vote where no party vote was called before, I think it is somewhat newer territory for the House.
Well, it is, but having said that, the House is the master of its own destiny, and the member has sought leave. It doesn't have to be granted. Speaking to the point of order.
Mr Speaker, there is recent precedent for this when the ACT Party sought retrospectively to cast a party vote in respect of the third reading of a bill it opposed, and that was declined as outside of standing orders. So I just wonder if you would, I'm not challenging your ruling, and the House is free to make that change, but my recollection of that particular point is, event was that leave could not have been put in that instance.
Can I just advise honourable members, this particular case, because it's a second reading, is in the member's hands. Had it been a third reading, then that would have been a different issue. So the member is perfectly free to ask the House and seek leave. The member has done so for a party vote. Is there any objection to that course of action being taken? There is none. The member may have call for a party vote. The clerk will please conduct the party vote. Thank you.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes in favour.
Green Party.
Opposed?
New Zealand First.
In favour.
Maori Party.
3 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 vote in favour.
ACT New Zealand.
1 in favour.
United Future.
1 in favour.
Honourable Member, the ayes are 107, the noes are 14. The Regulatory Reform Bill is agreed to for second reading. Call on Government Orders of the Day numbers 6 and 7.